amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remain blessed.
What we saw since 1986 was a devaluation of almost every African currency, especially sub-Saharan Africa. And it just became weightless and weightless and weightless. You know, Joseph Stalin said, and Margaret Thatcher also echoed in 1980. You know, Margaret Thatcher said in 1982, he said that, look, you know, to ruin a country, the first thing you do is to destroy or debauch its currency. To destroy a country, first debauch its currency. So the currency of a country is very, very important. Your currency is you. Your currency is your dignity. Your currency is your economy. You know, so if you float the Nigerian naira, it'll simply float away, and we are going to lose the country. So they've been putting us under pressure, and of course, because we have very little choices here, you know, we don't have a choice but to give in. You know, and the same story has been said. Oh, once you devalue your currency, you know, your exports will become more attractive. I told you just now, the Marshall-Lerner conditions that says that, look, it will not happen except your export is such that because you devalue your currency, they're going to buy a lot more of that export. And what we sell is crude oil in the main. The rest is even cocoa. We're now number 5 after Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Indonesia, Cameroon, and so on. You know, so we've lost it on that count. You know, so you can see that the empirical evidence from 1986 to date is that devaluation has not. In fact, I say to you that, look, when you devalue a currency, you devalue the people. When you devalue a currency, you devalue the people. Because what you're saying, in essence, is that those who can afford milk will no longer be able to afford milk. Look at what has happened to inflation, true devaluation, in the last 7-8 years. We're seeing inflation of about 300, 400, 500% on even food items, like simple things like rice, even the ones that are produced locally. Because again, when you talk about local production, you forget that you go to WAMCO today, right? You know, I mean, they bring the substrate, whatever it is, they bring them from Netherlands. They add water to it, they mix it up. They are local, right? The MD is even a foreigner, so you have to pay him in dollars as well. So you see that even a lot of our local production is still externalized. Okay. So we've got to be very careful about what we're doing. Like I said earlier on, even our attempts to deregulate the economy has been hampered by the policy of devaluation. So we have a trilemma. So in a trilemma, you have to let one go between devaluation, deregulation, or economic growth. We've been devaluing and trying to deregulate, and economy has grown. In fact, poverty has increased.
But it would seem like that's what, as you said, is what we've been trying to do since maybe 1983, yeah, with austerity measures.
Exactly, and 1980, under Shagari and
SPEM and the rest of them. You know, there's something Dr. Adedipe mentioned earlier, and he talked about the need for us to produce more locally. But then you also saw a quote we put out earlier, strapped to the governor of the central bank, that says, between the importation of refined products and the importation of rice, sugar, and wheat, they consume close to 40% of the forex needed to fund imports in Nigeria. Now, his opinion is, if by the end of this year, forex allocation to these items end, then we can see the exchange rate achieve more stability. Are you as optimistic?
Well, I may not be as optimistic, but of course, the central bank governor is sitting, he sees the dashboard himself, so he probably will be able to talk more authoritatively about that. I mean, we have set several of those goals in the past and not met them, for example. We're hoping that Dangote refinery will come on stream, and so we'll be able to reduce the amount of... Because again, if you look at Nigeria's import profile, our biggest import, okay, is actually not refined oil, that's the second biggest, but technology. Technology is our biggest import. The laptops you're carrying, your phones, you know, the softwares we pay for and all of that. Because we live in a world where we don't have a choice but to depend on those things massively.
What do we need to reverse those ones? What sector of Nigeria can do that?
Yeah, so again, you're going to have to incentivize a lot of local production. Again, remember, I think, look, I heard this said so many times, even by, you know, very enlightened people. The concept of comparative advantage is dead. Please, it's so dead. Okay, the bottom line is a country must incentivize itself, its youth, your human capital, to produce as much as possible. Look, go to the east of this country, where guys are there in Aba, you know, where in Unewi and Co, producing stuff. How much incentives are they getting? look, close your eyes and incentivize them. And then let's make it a national thing, not only in the Southeast. You know, so I'm saying that, look, if it's infrastructure they want, concentrate and give it to them. If it's some subsidy they want, give them money if they use. In China, many of those guys who took over the world, they get direct incentive from their government.
You're essentially
and I'm saying that, look, it doesn't have to end in the Southeast. Every state in this country should begin to talk about what they're producing in terms of, you know, tangible.
Back to the comparative advantage. Tom.
No. I'm just saying, Again, it's not comparative advantage.
No, maybe I'm talking about comparative.
No. What I'm saying, don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is not for them to say, oh, what have we always produced? I'm saying, what can you even produce more? So it's about breaking barriers. Okay, we cannot sit down and say we're agricultural. Agriculture can only feed this country. It can never, ever. Okay, look, I ask you, how many tubers of cassava or yam do you need in order to buy one Toyota Prado? And how many of the Prados do we have? You probably need shiploads of those.
Which is why, conversations around the...
so agriculture will now take us out, yes.
But you're essentially talking about, pumping more resources and giving more attention to micro, small, and medium enterprises development.
Well, I don't even want that. You see, let me say.
These people you talk about in the Southeast, they are small businesses.
Again, that's another thing. So we deal with the fact that you need to incentivize them. But secondly, to say that they remain small and medium and enterprises is another fallacy we've been dealing with and living with in this country for too long. SMEs will never take the country to where you need to now begin to think about aggregation. And, when we talk about international trade, you want to be able to aggregate and compete, with the guys that matter. Because, again, the whole idea of small, whatever, will not scale, really, if you ask me. We've done that for too long.
I'm a little confused right now.
Yes.
Maybe Dr. Adedipe will be able to speak to this as well. Because one of the things that we've heard from you economists is that small businesses, small SMEs, make up something in the region of 70 or thereabout % of every economy. So if that is a fact, you're saying that SMEs cannot take us anywhere?
No. They can't. I mean, they can't really, because we have 41 million SMEs in this country. 41 million registered, according to the SMEDAN, all right? So the point is, look, they've been playing small. So, you see, but at that point, but we need more of the tribal. See, okay, so I think we're talking about what kind of capitalism we want to practice there. Look at what they did China is state capitalism, state-funded, state-backed, massive companies taking over the world. I told you the size comparatively now between them and, but look at South Korea, tribals. They took people talk about the innocence of this world, whatever else. Give us other companies, the Dangotes of this world. We need innocence and Dangotes all over this country, massive companies that can collate and aggregate what the SMEs are doing.
Okay.
The SMEs alone on their own will not be able to play internationally.
Well, Dr. Adedipe, what's your take on that? The fact that, you have talked about production, and most certainly something everyone has talked about as well, and which is where, talking about being pragmatic now, in this whole conversation, how many big organizations can really take Nigeria out of the woods, so to speak, which is where each time I hear that, SMEs have an important role to play in the economy, I'm a little excited. I'm only expecting that maybe the needful will be done. But I don't know if you agree with Dr. Fasha here.
Yeah, now let me link the number of things you had mentioned, because we are on the same page in these matters. Number one is that the World Bank, IMF, always run by templates. Okay? I've been in the system myself before. I was a staff of the World Bank some 3 years ago. All right? Now, they run by templates. In which case, what they give to you as a policy advice is not peculiar to your country. It's something they wave on the faces of different countries. So, like Tom said earlier on, it is now up to you to look at the advice they give and then look at your own peculiarities and fashion out what will work for you. All right? Now, when we talk about the SMEs, they are all over Nigeria. Of course, we know the pattern globally, that they create more jobs than the big ones. And of course, they are also pervasive. The one thing that I've also been a part of is to identify what we call 12 economic clusters in Nigeria. Okay? Those clusters will become the basis for aggregation as I mentioned. So what that means, when you look at this cluster, the question you ask yourself is, in this particular area, it is an agricultural cluster. The most dominant economic activity there is agricultural. So what do they require along the entire value chains of their activities. So in terms of infrastructure, what do they need? We've seen China do that successfully since 2004, specifically looking at infrastructure, various roads, railway, dry ports, and the rest of them. And we said, if we are able to pin that down here in Nigeria, that means every, you call it geopolitical zone, and we turn that to economic zones, all right? Every of these economic zones or clusters, as we like to describe them, can now have peculiar infrastructure needs provided that will now activate and energize all their value chains. That is when this will begin to make sense. So the aggregation of what they produce and linking them with the market is what will make all the difference. So linking them with the market, that means you link every SME within your space to the big one that operates in that sector. Now, like Tokwe mentioned, InnoSys, almost 70% of InnoSys components are produced locally. So that is backward integration. That is creating jobs for the suppliers of those parts, all right? So look at it from that perspective. They'll be able to create a lot more jobs, and of course, at the same time, scale to a level where you can compete internationally. So that's why I said I'm on the same page with Tokwe. It's just that I will explain it differently. The same thing he said earlier on. We call it the Washington Consensus. There are 10 policies in that bouquet that we call the Washington Consensus. Devaluation, deregulation, monetization, all of them, there are 10 of them, okay? But they are outdated. So if we are talking about deregulation today in Nigeria, it's an outdated issue. We should actually be looking at our peculiarities. And let me drop this, before I keep my mouth shut for now. And this is the fact of it. If you import certain products from anywhere in the world, and you are going to do something that will prevent you from importing it, you can be sure that country where you import from, we also want to do something that will make it impossible for you to produce locally. We often forget that when we are designing our policies, and I've seen this play out in some sectors, telecoms and the rest of them over the years. So until we recognize that we are competing, and competition means ultimately it's a zero-sum game, which means what Nigeria gains is a loss to the country from which we import today. So we must therefore be very clear about what we want to do, and as I said at the beginning, have the courage to go through it when those other voices come to advise you otherwise.
Well, Doctor, you forgive me for forcing that mouth open again as we custom on this one. So, I mean, you talked about production, consumption, and trade. That, I mean, right in the middle of it. So we can always talk about the fiscal policies that we need to see. We want to see the government taking the courage to bring on board. We can talk about the monetary policies as well. But how about the people policy? Because if we're going to all compete, I mean, it's not the government competing against other governments, it's the country as a whole. So what kind of people policy should we, the people, be bringing on board? I hope that makes sense.
A whole lot of sense. In fact, earlier when we were discussing the issue of multiple exchange rates, what came to my mind is there are 6 stakeholders there, okay? The monetary authorities, as you said, fiscal authorities, we have the banks as well, major stakeholder through which these foreign currencies flow. Then, of course, we have producers and service providers, and of course, the consumers, which means we're all together in it. So if I choose as a Nigerian to buy what is imported, and that is my preference, in a way, I'm also contributing to the pressure on the naira exchange value. In which case, government puts out a policy, and that is why leadership is very, very important. Leadership is about 2 things, vision and trust. In which case, you are very clear about where you are taking us to, and then people trust you because of your antecedents, what you have done, and what you also intend to do. So if we trust you, we will follow you. And that's where the issue lies. So leadership is a big issue for us here. If the leadership is right, you cast a vision before us, the people buy into that vision, they follow you. Then it means as a leader also, you must empower your people. And that comes to what Tokwe mentioned earlier on, capacity building, investment in human capital. We must place a premium on that.
Okay. Well, Dr. Fashola, in closing, three words came out for me there. I hope I remember the third one. He talked about the people, talked about trust, and something that you also talked about, capacity building. Now, bridging that, he talked about vision. People, trust, vision. Now, we have talked about those three elements here as well for quite a bit. In closing, first of all, how do we bridge the government people trust quotient?
In fact, talking about vision, we can help them with vision, all right? Usually, you see, many people who get into government, all of a sudden, it's so difficult for them to have that vision, because when you're too close to a big problem, you can't make sense out of it anymore. You're getting all those numbers coming out from NNPC, Ministry of Finance, FRS, trillions of naira. You get confused. You think that Nigeria has money. This country doesn't have money. In fact, we should be imagining an economy that's 3-4 times this size. I've always pushed for double-digit growth rate. That is the barest minimum of what we should be trying to achieve. So we can paint the vision. One of the visions I tried to paint earlier is to say every state, in fact, perhaps maybe not the Chaibos, maybe not the Dangotes and all of that. We have AFCFTA, the African Free Trade Zone, to deal with. So what we probably should be doing is that in every state, perhaps every local government, we should be having people who add value to the agricultural products that we have. Look, if we say we're not exporting anything raw anymore, we can do it.
Okay.
In pushing the idea of let us export. We export yam, we export cassava, sesame seed, ginger, and all of that. What if we say, okay, we're not even exporting anymore because the companies that are here don't even have enough to produce into secondary products, which is where the dollars come from. So we can help them with the vision.
Well, close in 2 sentences.
Yes.
The people trust.
The people thing, okay, so, well, I wish, trust is very important. That depends on whoever becomes the leader. Even the trust can be helped if the leader was only communicative. 95% of the work of leader is right now, leadership right now, is communication. Talk to us, talk to your people. Okay. Because in terms of the people thing, I've been writing about mobilization, mass mobilization. Okay, look, you see our people are all over the place, moving in every direction.
So for you,
we need to bring them back together, paint a vision to them, tell them this is where we're going, and look,
the summary
Nigerians will deliver Nigeria.
The summary for you.
Let's add to this sentence. Whatever happened to your presidential ambition?
Come on, that was 2019. The big boys are the ones in the field now.
So all things are passed away.
If they don't do well in 2023, maybe we'll come back in 2027. But okay. I know that I run a fantastic ship with Nigeria. And people will listen to what I have to say. Nigerians will save Nigeria. Look, that's one thing. And what Dr. Adedipe has said, foreigners, look, everything we are doing, we're bringing Chinese, we're bringing Americans, we're bringing Russia, Nigerians will have to save Nigeria.
And Nigerians
we have no choice.
Have listened to you both this morning.
Yes, hopefully.
Dr. Tokwe Fashua, economist, public policy scholar, and former presidential candidate. He says that's in abeyance for now. Thanks for joining us. As well as Dr. Biodun Adedipe, who is a former member, Presidential Committee of Experts on the denomination of the Naira, as well as a former member, Federal Government Committee of Experts on Expenditure Review, as well as a former Senior Special Assistant to the President in the Office of the Chief Economic Advisor. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.